Hey guys, it's Alex, and I am here with yet another book haul. I was doing so good. I hadn't bought any books in a month. I hadn't bought any books in over a month, and I hadn't acquired any books in like 4 weeks. So I was doing really good. And then my favorite thrift store said they were doing a 5-cent back to school book sale. All the books were 5 cents. I bought 27 books, and it only cost me $1.35. How am I supposed to resist that? I literally can't resist that. It's just books. So many books and so cheap. I went one day and went through like the three main rooms that they always have open and got 13 books and was like, yes, I did well. I controlled myself. And then I went back the next day and got 14 more. But I'm going to go through these books as quickly as possible. I know there are 27, so I won't be able to talk in depth about any of them, but we're gonna go through them. So my haul started looking through the rooms and not really seeing much of interest, and I was like, maybe I'll just get like 2 or 3 books, because I'm an adult and none of these books actually look that good to me. And then I saw The Zookeeper's Wife by Diane Ackerman. Had never heard of this book before. Picked it up, skimmed the back, because it's called The Zookeeper's Wife, and it sounded like The Time Traveler's Wife, which I haven't read and don't really plan to read. And apparently it's about a Polish couple who ran a zoo during the 1940s. I'm sure you can guess where this is going. And they wound up using the zoo to hide a great many Jews. And this is about that. And you know what I'm like with books about Nazi Germany. So I picked it up, and then the floodgates opened. The next book I picked up was The Wilderness of Ruin by Roseanne Montijo. This is about America's youngest serial killer who is he was sent to reform school at 12 years old, and then 16 months later he's released, and some people go missing. It's set in the 1870s, around after the Great Boston Fire, and it just sounds really, really interesting. I'm 85% sure this is fiction, but it just sounds utterly fascinating. And then I grabbed Snowflower and the Secret Fan by Lisa See. This is set in China in the 19th century, and I feel like I'd heard of Lisa See before, so I just picked it up and I didn't read the back, so hopefully it's good. The Number One Ladies Detective Agency by Alexander McCall Smith. Someone recommended me this book, or this author. I remember it sounded familiar from someone on BookTube. I don't know who. I'm the worst. I will remember your recommendations, but I will have no idea who recommended it to me. So if you recommended it to me, I have picked it up. The Courage of Their Convictions by Peter Irons. This is a book about 16 Supreme Court cases and the people whose cases they were. The individual people, not the lawyers involved, and what they were fighting, and it's just a discussion on that. It sounds really fascinating, and it sounds like the kind of law book I like, which is sort of pop culture law, sort of. Accessible to people who don't have law degrees and aren't planning to go to law school, but really interesting because I'm fascinated in law, and this sounds fantastic. Winter Birds by Jim Grimsley. I don't know why I picked this up. There's no description on the back. It was 5 cents. That's my justification. And I'm really excited about this one because I've seen it on BookTube a lot, and that is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I've seen a lot of people have mixed feelings about this book. People seem to either really love it or they can't stand it, but either way they seem to agree that his writing is really beautiful. And honestly, I will forgive a lot for beautiful writing. I can get through some pretty rough books for beautiful writing. So I'm really hoping that I'll enjoy this, and this one has actually been on my TBR for a minute. The Vampire Lestat by Anne Rice. This is the second in her Vampire Chronicles series. It follows Interview with a Vampire, which I plan on reading, and my boyfriend kind of said, the series is not that worth reading, the whole thing, but you should probably read the first one and maybe the second one. So, since it was there, I decided just to grab it, and we will see. The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. I've never seen the musical, I've never seen the play, I've never read the book, so I figure I can read it and then maybe watch it if it's on Netflix or somewhere. So that'll be interesting. I've also seen a few people read it and talk about it recently, so I was curious, and it was there, so why not? Anne of Green Gables by Ellen Montgomery. I have 2 of the other books in the Anne series. but I've never owned this one, or I owned it and it got lost somewhere. So I found this and like it was perfect. I read it as a child, but I would like to own it as an adult and reread it sometime. This one I was really excited to see because it's been on my TBR for a very long time and I've been so excited to read it. And that is A Man Called Ove by Fredrik Backman. I have heard nothing but amazing things about this book and about Fredrik Backman in general. He sounds amazing. He sounds so good. Like, this book sounds wonderful, and I'm really, really excited to read it. Once a Runner by John L. Parker Jr. This is a novel about running. I like running. I don't do it as much as I would like to anymore, but I do enjoy it, and I thought it might be fun to read a novel about it. And this seems to be like sort of a cult classic. It started out self-published, and then it got like more and more popular, and then was traditionally published later, which is very interesting to me. So I'll be really excited and curious to pick this one up. And the last book I got on the first day of this book sale is one that I've seen a lot of people talk about on BookTube, and I was really excited to see it because it was one of those books I put on my TBR but didn't really expect to get to for a very long time, and that is The Girls by Emma Cline. This is about Charles Manson and the murders and the cult, and it just sounds really fascinating, and I know a lot of people have given it like really high reviews, so I am thrilled to have found this. I was not expecting to find it because it's a fairly recent book, I think from like 2016, and I don't find a lot of new releases or like recent releases in thrift stores, so this was awesome. And now on to day two's books. We're gonna pretend like I don't currently have 14 books in my lap. This book has a story, so settle down because you're gonna get a story. When I was but a college student, a great many years ago, like 5 years ago, I took a lyric essay course. I didn't know what a lyric essay was, I just signed up for it because I liked the professor, and it was amazing. Lyric essays are basically poetry combined with nonfiction, and they're beautiful, like, love them. We were assigned this random book that was independently published through Saraband Books, and I had never heard of it before. Haven't heard of it since, but it was really lovely, and I lost my copy. Walk in to this room that's just tables full of books, and the first book I see is Syzygy Beauty by T. Fleischman. Like, I can't overstress how small this book is. Like, it has 12 reviews on Goodreads. It has 12, and like, I lost my copy, and I was going to have to replace it because this isn't a book you can find used. And then I found it used, and I'm 90% sure that this is either my copy that I lost come back to me, or it was someone else from the class. But either way, so thrilled to have found this. Genuinely thrilled. And after that, I no longer felt bad about going to the book sale a second day, so I just bought whatever I wanted. 206 Bones by Kathy Reichs. This is from the series that inspired Bones, the TV show. So I was just like, kind of curious. I don't know if this is the first one. I don't think it matters. I've seen the entire TV show, and I'm sure they're like in no way related apart from names. But I'm excited to like read the book that inspired it. Black Seconds by Karen Fossum. This is a mystery about a girl who goes missing. I believe it's part of a series. It says an Inspector Sayer mystery, so like it seems like it's part of a series. Never heard of it before, but I do like books about children who go missing without a trace, and like they're always like really mysterious and creepy to me. An American Childhood by Annie Dillard. I've heard of this book before, or I've heard of Annie Dillard before, one of the two, and when things sound familiar, for 5 cents, I picked them up. Snow Falling on Cedars by David Gooderson. I have seen this book so many times in thrift stores. Like, every time I go, I see this book somewhere, and I've never heard of it. I've never heard anyone ever mention it in any sense, anywhere. But it's always in thrift stores, no matter which one I go to. So, I just decided to pick it up because I'm curious, and it's always there. It seems like it was following me, so I had to take it home. The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman. I do already have this book, but I have a really ugly series. I don't like the way they look. They're very small, they're very unattractive. You might be able to see them on my shelf back there, but I don't like them. And I have The Golden Compass in this edition, and it's really pretty. And this is not like in the best shape. Someone obviously got it wet, but it's very pretty, and if I find the third one somewhere, I will unhaul. the smaller set that I have. The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. This is one of the classics I really want to read. I went to read Victor Hugo, and The Hunchback is shorter than Les Mis, so I think I will start with Hunchback and then get to Les Mis, although I don't love this edition. It's very small and very, very thick, but it should be fine for reading. I'll just crack the spine a lot. And I also picked up The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I actually already have this book. I wasn't sure. It sounded familiar and I thought I might have it, but for 5 cents I was willing to check, so this is just going straight back into my unhaul pile. Ender's War by Orson Scott Card. I was confused as to what this was at first, because Ender's War is not actually a novel, and I just assumed it was. It was a novel in the series. But I googled the series and looked more into it, and Ender's War is like Ender's Game combined with the second published book, which is Shadow of Death or something. Honestly, the more I read about this series, the more I think that I'm probably just going to read Ender's Game, and that's it. But I will keep this just in case I feel like continuing on. A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. It's Dickens. I have a bunch of his books now. I didn't have this one. I think this is my 4th Dickens book, and I still haven't read any of them because Dickens scares me, and I just know what a struggle he is because I've read excerpts, but this is a fairly short one, so I feel like this will be a good step after I read The Christmas Carol to read this next and then get on to like David Copperfield and Great Expectations. Public Enemies by Brian Burrow. This is nonfiction. There's a movie based on this. I don't know anything. It's centered around the FBI between like 1933 and 1934. I don't really know much about it. There's a movie based on it, so it must be interesting. I don't know. It was 5 cents. Stop judging me. Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Brent. This is a nonfiction true crime book about a murder that took place and sort of like, is it a murder or was it self-defense? Sounds interesting. It also sounds like In the Garden of Beasts, and I've seen it before, and honestly I pick it up every time because it sounds like In the Garden of Beasts, and I just associate the two, so I pick it up, and I decided finally just to get it because I've seen it at least 3 times, so maybe it'll be interesting. Hannah's Daughters by Marianne Fredrickson. It's about Swedish women, and it follows 3 generations of their family, and I really like multi-generational family stories. They always fascinate me just to follow a singular family for that long and see how the family changes. So I picked it up. I'm hoping it'll be interesting. Don't really know much about it. And the final book I picked up is American Wife by Curtis Sittenfeld. This is about Alice Lindgren, who was born in the 1940s and eventually grew up and married a man who started a career in politics and then ran for president and became president, I believe. I don't know. I skimmed the back, but it sounds interesting. It's a novel. She is a fictional person, and I believe the president is fictional. I'm like 98% sure. I haven't really googled this, but it sounds interesting, and I saw it like 3 times. I saw like 3 copies, so I had to pick it up because like it wanted a home. And that is my 27 book haul. 26 if you don't count the book that I'm immediately unhauling, so I feel like that was okay. I did want to read a lot of them already. A lot of them were on my TBR, and I'm very excited to get to them, so it could have been worse. That is my mantra for this video. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books, if you want me to read any of these books really soon. I am posting this haul way late. It took me forever to film and edit and get all that stuff, so like I bought these books back in like the end of August. It's been a while, guys. And my camera is running out of juice, so thank you as always for watching and commenting and supporting me. I appreciate it so much, and I will see you guys again soon. Bye!